What previously used to be the market share of VH1's Behind the Music, I guess for my age demographic, is being marketed to by Vice or Netflix, looking at hit songs from Papa Roach, Shaggy, and others. In an episode of Netflix's version, a line stuck out and resonated with me for things I've been coming to terms with when they were playing an old interview with Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails.
And I thought that maybe when I reached all these goals, I'd find some sort of peace. And I didn't. It's like I'm more miserable now than I ever was.
My monster really is my own head right now. I'm just trying to come to terms with some things.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today's video isn't going to be a particularly sciencey one, if at all. So if that is your jam for my stuff, by all means skip this one and we'll catch you next time. I mentioned on my YouTube community page that I'd be going to a bi-weekly upload schedule instead of weekly and went a little bit into why, and I want to expand on that a little. And what I'm going to be talking about is something I've seen other YouTubers kind of touch on, but not really go into specifics, like Drew Gooden or Cynical Reviews. For whatever reason, I'm comfortable talking about this type of stuff and my experiences with it, so that's what this video is going to be. You can think of this as a kinda different behind the scenes as to what I just uploaded for my patrons, and if you'd like to see that, feel free to hit up my Patreon, and you can see a 3-hour behind the scenes making of for one of the 12 rules videos. So this is going to be just roughly where I'm at in the channel and myself emotionally and mentally, and that's why it's kind of Struggle Bus Part 2. Some things have changed for the better since the last Struggle Bus, especially in the just last 2 or 3 months. The vaccine for COVID is being rolled out, and so there is almost a light at the end of the tunnel for the current situation. A lot of anxiety I had about our general election is subsiding. Plot twists keep happening, but hopefully we'll be on sort of a more normal path here in the near future. A lot of stress tied up in producing these has been greatly reduced with our move into this new place. I can film at any time of day for a couple reasons. For one, there's not really any road noise to speak of here. At the last place, I had to film at night because the traffic was just constant and very, very audible. And even at night, there could just be the occasional jerk in a very loud car just driving by at 70. And also with the way the room was set up, I couldn't film during the day and have the fun light setup that I wanted because, we had huge windows that my husband did not want blacked out, which is understandable, but that meant I had however long that night was to film, and that was stressful, especially when the shoot wasn't going well, as I'll talk about. And I have my own space, and it's really nice not being on each other's toes trying to get stuff done. And also, if the cats are being too rowdy, I can just lock them out. I'm not trying to lock them into a bedroom or something and feeling bad that they don't have access to everything. They can just be closed out and I can have my little space to try to get into the zone in making these. But everything's not all sunshine and rainbows, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video, so let's get into that. The first suffer bus came at a point when I was finally getting out of a bit of an emotional and psychological hole. I was optimistic that it would keep improving as things were settling down and I was coming to peace with how my life was shaping up. That video was published towards the end of February 2020. Needless to say at this point, but my assumptions about the stability of the world were quite wrong, as we're all too familiar with at this point. So the sort of background noise stressor of the pandemic and the flagrantly anti-science response to it has factored into things. In June, I filmed what I thought would be a fun, silly makeup challenge with my husband, just sort of as a break from everything. We filmed it over the weekend while my husband wasn't working, and so I looked at the footage Monday and couldn't stomach what I was seeing. Like, I'd show you, but it's never seen the light of day. So, had a pretty substantial meltdown, which threw any chance of working right out the window. Tuesday, had a fresh look at the footage with the reassurance from my husband that it can't be that bad. He knows what I look like after all, and it can't be that bad. It is that bad. And I tried a couple different things trying to salvage the footage, like playing with the light levels, playing with the color balance, just trying to get it so it would be salvageable, and short of just applying a Gaussian blur to it, there was no way I was uploading it to the internet looking like that. So here comes meltdown number 2 for several hours. Thanks to my body dysmorphia mood disorder twofer. Around this time, out in the real world, the Black Lives Matter protests are really kicking off, and I can't believe the hatred and incredulity that these are being met with. What the fuck is wrong with this country? So between my personal problems with the footage I had for the video I had set for that week and not having the time to pull something else out of my ass, the sense of need to upload a video on a weekly basis that I'll talk about later, the world and our country's situation, I decided not to upload that week. And it was a really hard decision for me. Like, I was messaging Lily for, I think, at least an hour trying to build up being okay with that. The posts I made about this received overwhelmingly positive support, and thank you guys so much for that every time I do one of these. But, of course, things can't just stay nice, especially on this platform, so I had someone claiming I was not uploading because I didn't want to make things weird, and am obviously not sick. But you look fine. How can you be sick, or disabled, or psychologically not okay? Anyways, back to the recent community post. I mentioned having some form of breakdown with nearly all videos since roughly the Rise of Peterson review. Before going into some specific examples of what that means for me, I will mention that there's been a red flag just staring me in the face that I wasn't really letting myself see until recently. A coping strategy that is less than optimal in most people's minds has worked its way back into my coping toolbox very firmly, that it was something I was doing almost on a weekly basis, if not more, to get through producing these videos and cope with life. And that probably should have been taken more seriously by me long before now. My Altered Carbon review, which was supposed to be a fun, easy project for me compared to the 12 Rules videos, ended up turning into an even bigger time commitment than what I'd anticipated. And it was to the point where my husband actually helped me process some of the audio. I was so panicky that I wasn't going to finish in time. And I'm rushing, I'm trying to push to get this finished, and I'm in the home stretch and Adobe crashed. And this is something that happens with Adobe. You just get used to it. But I hadn't been saving, apparently, for some time, and so I lost several hours worth of work. Just gone. Irretrievable. The autosave wasn't happening for some reason, and so I had several hours of work just gone in a time when I couldn't afford it. So, looking at several hours of lost work, plus however long I had to finish, plus the render, plus the upload, I first entered a panic attack, which tends to feed into depressive spirals for me. I'm not going to finish in time. That means I'm going to miss my 4 p.m. upload, and that means I'm going to disappoint the people who are subscribed to my channel and the people who are financially supporting my channel. And so they have every right to stop being subscribed to me or even to stop financially supporting me because I'm not upholding my end of the bargain. And I'm going to bleed out people and my channel's going to die, and that means I will have failed at everything I've ever tried. These spirals are a huge time sink that I couldn't afford, so enter the coping strategy and get shit locked down, get the video going, get it done, and got it out on time. And I just want to emphasize that this is me. This is a me problem. My patrons have always been lovely when I take a week off or change the upload schedule, like very supportive. And subscribers, same thing. Discordians, everybody has been lovely that sort of is in my community, I guess you'd call it. Like, this is me. The Rise of Jordan Peterson review was a different problem. So the week or two before, I switched from a very old version of the Adobe Creative stuff to the up-to-date subscription service. And so there was a little bit of a learning curve there, and I'd sort of figured it out. And the week I did the Rise of Jordan Peterson review, I also added RedGiant plugin stuff to the mix. And there was a bit of a learning curve, but I was figuring it out, and things were going fine until probably halfway through the review. I discovered, and to this day have a problem where I can't keep the VHS effects functional. And at the time, I didn't know that, like, the error messages that you get, because it'll just spam you with a huge wall of error messages when this happens, that it's fine, just remove the effect. It's okay. I didn't know that. And so I'm hit with this wall of error messages, and a bunch of VHS effects that I had been using throughout the first half of the review without problem suddenly aren't working. I can't add them. Some of the old ones are now not working. Some of them are. And oh my god, what do I do? A little bit of panic, some tears were had, mini meltdown. But I figured out a workaround that it looked not as good, but it worked, and it's something I still use because I can't get the stupid VHS thing to work no matter how many times I do a clean install. Like, at this point, I doubt a clean install of Windows and then it would fix it. Like, I don't understand it. But anyways, so I'm up all Thursday night trying to fix this. Friday morning, it's finally time to render. Like, I think the first time I sent it to render was at 5 a.m. 2/3 of the way into the render, it kicks back an error and stops. It won't render. Great. And at this point, the video card I had, the render speed, I wasn't able to use hardware acceleration, whatever. It was 1-to-1 at best, and slower than that for things where it got complicated with layers and stuff. So if, I don't remember exactly how long the review was, but let's say it was an hour. So an hour render would take me at least an hour, if not longer, depending on how complex the layers were getting. And that one had a lot of layers. So yeah, I fix what I think is the problem, send it to render again, and wait. And then 30 minutes in, it kicks back another error. Okay. Try to fix what I think the problem is there, send it out to render again, and this time it makes it like 5 minutes and just crashes. Just everything crashes. So yeah, meltdown. Similar spiral to the last one, but caused by a different sort of circumstance happening. I was very tired. I wanted to just have this render, get it uploading, get the thing ready, and go to bed so I could be up for the premiere, and that was rapidly not becoming an option. As I said, I wasn't as familiar with Premiere and how you can do different workarounds, so for the next 6 or 7 hours was me just sitting there in emotional mess trying to get this stupid project to render, and it not. And final solution, thanks to my husband, was to render it in, I think, like 10 or 12 chunks. Just little itty-bitty chunks. Will this part work? Cool. Will this part work? Cool. This part fucked off. Okay, let's divide it in two and see where the problem is. And just keep doing that until I had the entire thing that I could stitch together. FFmpeg if you're curious. Anyways. And I get it all going. It's stitched together, and the length is different than the Premiere project. I fucked up somewhere, and I don't know where. So, yeah, that was Another bit of a meltdown about how stupid I am that I can't even do this one thing right. Yada yada. Eventually figure out which chunk was wrong, get it fixed, get it rendered, get it uploaded, and God, I don't remember, like a couple hours before the premiere, which was just not enough time for me to even take a nap, so that was a good day. And then, of course, the comments I got on that review made it all the better. So those were two of the memorable ones. I do know that every week since the Rise of Jordan Peterson review, I have lost it in some way during the video production process. I guess some problems could fall under an umbrella of just issues with belief in myself and my ability to do things. So doubting my interpretation of something, my ability to apply makeup, my ability to look presentable on camera without a paper bag on my head, belief in the final video that it's not awful to watch. And I've gotten to the point where I don't like any video when it's done, for better or worse, but the other things can lead to that sort of negative spiral that just sort of center around whatever the cause was. You know, either I'm a monster, I'm stupid, I'm worthless, whatever. Another category of problem would be giving myself too much work to do in a week. And as a result, I would sacrifice my sleep to make sure I get the video done on time. And doing that is dumb with bipolar and the trigeminal neuralgia, because throwing off my sleep schedule can trigger that too. And yeah, it's dumb, but it's something I did pretty much for almost every 12 Rules video, if not the others. Related to that, in the filming process or coming right up to the end of sort of the deadline, I could get terribly short-tempered with my husband and the cats if they were interfering with the filming process, if they were just wanting my time, and then feeling horribly guilty about it, that I'm a monster and should be removed from the equation. Sort of related to the last point is just problems encountered during filming that have mostly been resolved for various reasons. So as I mentioned, the road noise at the last place was just horrendous, and you know, car after car after car at like 1 a.m. and not wanting to have that noise in the background because, you know, it's like a McLaren with the whatever exhaust, so it's obnoxious as fuck. Not wanting that noise in the background and having to wait. And you wait long enough, you get really pissed off because I'm losing the time window that I could film in because of the lighting problems. The other thing is the camera I was using was getting to a point where it was deciding not to work. And it would let me know by locking up in the middle of filming. Like, the little screen guy would go green, and then it would just stop. It would turn off, and I would lose whatever file it was currently working on. This could happen 5 minutes in, which isn't so bad, or it could happen on the 28th minute of 29, and it's just gone. Just gone. Sometimes this wouldn't happen at all. Sometimes this would happen once a night. Sometimes it would happen 3 or 4 times a night. And the last video I shot with that camera, I was doing in 10-minute chunks to try to just make sure I wasn't losing more time sitting in front of the camera than I had to. And it was not good. And for all of these, as I mentioned earlier, this was at the last place where I had that finite period of time to shoot in, and that pressure of needing to get this shit done in that evening, and all of these things coming in and adding time to my shoot just would push me over the edge. And I'd lose it for a bit and try not to cry because I can't ruin the makeup. And the one surefire way I have of locking that down isn't good long term, but it gets the job done. And something I'm not sure this summary of my problems is doing justice is just how draining all of this ended up being as a cumulative experience. And so in the first Suffer Bus video, I was hoping to recharge, in the coming months, and that didn't happen. And around the time I switched to doing 3 a month instead of 4 a month, I was realizing just how long it felt like I'd been running on empty. And I was hoping that having that extra week off a month meant I would be able to have some time to sort of recharge or refuel myself. And the thing is, that resulted in me having the 3 hard work weeks and 1 week where I would try to recover, but of course this would go off because it's an asshole, or just, that 1 week was not enough. So yeah, briefly, I'm still trying to find the right balance. So in preparing for this video, I sort of just wrote out stuff I wanted to talk about, and this is a full page talking about why you're seeing this video instead of the first recovered memories video. And the basic bottom line is just, it didn't feel right what I was planning, given the other book I'm talking about, The Irreversible Damage, because the author of the book I was going to start with is arguably transphobic, and sticking that in the middle of a transphobic book just didn't seem right. And stressing about it because, I'd sort of devoted the research period to reading this book, and then realizing I don't have a video, and feeling that same pressure and stress and all that again. And at a critical point where a lot of this could have been diffused, my husband's shitty superpower popped up where he said the exact wrong thing and kicked off a day and a half, 2 days-ish of a really bad, just emotional crash where I'll spare you the details there. Finally sort of pull out of that. And then I have, a day or 2 of this going off because nonstop crying is a trigger for this. Lucky me. So yeah, that's why we're taking this opportunity to talk about this stuff instead of diving into recovered memories. So with the new upload schedule, I wasn't expecting things to just get better overnight. It's going to take time for me to get back to not feeling so drained on things. But I was not expecting to hit such a snag so soon after changing it. And I don't know, maybe it's something I should have seen coming, but I so seldom do. And I guess that's just life. So given all that, a fair question would be why I was pushing myself this hard. And the answer basically boils down to me feeling that if I don't give 110% to making this channel work and it fails, I will be the sole blame haver for that. It's entirely my responsibility. Not luck, not the algorithm. The failure will be mine and mine alone. And I already have enough failures behind me. I don't want another one. But what exactly is failure, especially in this context? And I think that's kind of at the heart of a lot of this. Arguably, I'm already a failed academic. My ratio of publications to years since PhD is laughably low. At the very least, I think people would expect this ratio being at least 1. Mine is less than that. I'm not in a tenure track position with tenure. I'm not even in a stable job. So, okay, but I've committed to being a YouTuber. So what makes a failed YouTuber? And that's why I included the interview clip that I did at the start. I've got 10,000 subscribers, well before, the projections when I started the channel. And I should be proud and happy about it, but it seems like not enough. I want more. I want to have a number where I tell people and they go, wow, that's a lot, even though, people do that with 10,000, but I don't know. It's just, this site screws with your head. I'm almost at a point with Patreon income where I can pay for the food bills for the month, which was sort of a level of accomplishment I'd set at some point. But the issue with that is that the money is being reinvested into the channel, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because, all of this stuff is because of the patrons, but it also makes it hard to feel like this isn't just a glorified hobby instead of a job. And a note from the previous Suffer Bus video, The majority of my YouTube senpais have not noticed me, and I'm more okay with them not seeking out me as a friend, but I feel like just sort of noticing or being mentioned by them would sort of validate what I've been doing, and it's not happening, and it's quite possibly never going to happen, and I need to be okay with that and find my validation from within myself. So on the one hand, having goals and, an eye for accomplishment and trying to improve things and grow isn't a bad thing. I need to rein it in. This marathon isn't going to be run in one night. I need to stop doing it as a sprint because that's just not sustainable. So closing thoughts. Basically, I've come to recognize that my workload was too much for me, and I'm taking steps to try to get a better balance for what I can handle. And I also need to find better metrics of success. Don't know exactly what those are going to be, but what I've got now isn't working. And YouTube's not exactly helping things either with their interface, where it's like, your video is not doing as well as your previous 10 uploads, and it has lower watch time and, all these angry red arrows pretty much every video you upload except for like 1 in a million. So that's not helping. If YouTube could stop that, or at least give us an option to turn that off, it would be appreciated. And I'll close out with just giving some props and thanks and credit where it's due. If love was enough to fix, psych disorders and things, I would have been cured long ago. Chief among them is my husband, who is a fucking saint. He tries so hard when I'm locked in, like, my psychological, emotional, mental hell that I can end up in. And he tries. And it's a hard thing for anybody to make sense of if they haven't gone through it themselves. But he's there, trying. And I'm also grateful for each and every one of you, subscribed or not, patron or not, sitting here with me, talking about stuff, sometimes fun, sometimes more serious, and just on this journey together. And hopefully I can be of use to you and give you some thing in return for sort of giving me value and purpose in my life. So thanks. So yeah, until next time, bye.